So, picture this. You've got the world's fastest growing major economy with 1.4 billion people. How on earth do you power all of that, keep the economy booming, and fight climate change at the same time? It's a massive, massive challenge. And India is tackling it with a really fascinating two-part strategy that we're going to break down right now.
All right, let's dive in. First, we'll get a handle on the sheer scale of India's energy needs. Then, we'll look at the big, visible push into renewables. After that, we'll dig into a powerful but kind of risky tool, carbon pricing. We're going to explore why these markets so often fall flat and how India's really clever design might just set a whole new global standard.
Okay, first up, let's just try to wrap our heads around the numbers here, because the scale of India's energy challenge is, well, it's almost hard to comprehend.
Just look at this number. India's energy demand is projected to absolutely explode, jumping by 35% by 2035. Now, to put that in perspective for you, that's like adding the entire energy consumption of a country like Germany in just over 10 years. That's the kind of surge you get when the world's fastest growing major economy really kicks into high gear. And this demand isn't just coming from one place. It's a perfect storm. You've got the world's largest population, you've got millions of people moving to cities, and you've got booming tech and manufacturing sectors. Every single one of these things is an engine for growth, and every single engine needs more fuel.
So the big question is, how does India plan to meet this insane demand? Well, the most visible part of their strategy is something you've probably heard about, a truly massive investment in renewable energy.
Okay, but here's the reality check. India's made these huge strides in renewables. I mean, they now make up almost half of the country's power generation capacity. But, and this is a big but, fossil fuels still provide most of the actual energy for the day-to-day economy. And that really gets to the heart of the problem. Building a bunch of shiny new solar plants is one thing. Getting them to actually replace the old, dirty coal plants reliably 24/7, that's a much, much harder puzzle to solve.
And make no mistake, India's ambition here is just enormous. The goal is 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030, all on the road to heading net zero emissions by 2070. For a large developing country, this is easily one of the boldest climate pledges on the entire planet.
But renewables, they're only half the story. There's another side to the strategy, a less visible but maybe even more powerful tool that India is building: a brand new, nationwide carbon market. You can think of it as the invisible engine that's designed to drive decarbonization across the whole economy.
So, what is this thing? Well, to put it simply, India is creating a system to make it profitable to reduce pollution. This carbon credit trading scheme, or CCTS, it doesn't just punish the polluters, it actually rewards the companies that innovate.
Okay, so here's how it works in practice. The government sets an emissions target for a factory. Now, if you're a factory owner and you run a super clean, efficient operation and you come in under that limit, you earn credits. You can then turn around and sell those credits to another factory that's maybe not as clean. It's really simple. The innovators get paid and the polluters have to pay up. It creates this powerful financial reason for everyone to get cleaner.
And let me be clear, this isn't some far-off idea on a whiteboard. The laws have been passed, the key industries are being lined up, and this whole market is scheduled to go live in 2026. This is happening, and it's happening right now.
It's a powerful idea, right? A perfect solution. Well, not so fast. Because here's the catch. Many carbon markets around the world have this critical, hidden flaw, a weakness that can make the whole system fail, and fail spectacularly. This is the key question. Just think about it for a second. What happens if the pollution targets are too easy to meet in the beginning? Well, then everybody earns credits. The market gets absolutely flooded with them, supply crushes demand, and the price just collapses. And if the credits are basically free, they become worthless. The entire incentive to cut pollution, it just vanishes. Yeah, the experts have a name for this, a cumulative stockpile problem. Instead of actually encouraging companies to cut emissions, the market just creates this giant pile of useless credits. And when the price of carbon hits the floor, the whole system just grinds to a halt, and you can lose years of real progress.
And listen, this isn't just a theory. We've seen this movie before. The early version of Europe's carbon market had no safeguards like this. The price crashed, and investment in clean tech totally dried up. So you really have two possible futures here. India's goal is to create the opposite, a stable, predictable market that gives companies the confidence they need to make those big, long-term bets on clean technology.
So that brings us to the big question. How does India plan to avoid falling into that same trap? The answer is by building a really clever set of safeguards right into the system from the very beginning.
It's called a price or supply adjustment mechanism, or a PSAM. The best way to think about it is like a thermostat for the market. It's a set of automatic, pre-agreed rules that just kick in whenever things get out of balance. It prevents prices from collapsing because of too many credits, and it stops them from spiking because of too few.
It's basically a three-part toolkit. First, regulators get to control the supply through essential auction. Second, the credits themselves have an expiration date stamped on them. You can't just hoard them forever. And third, they're setting up a price corridor, a floor and a ceiling, that automatically triggers adjustments to keep everything from getting too out of whack. The whole point is to make the system predictable and rule-based.
So let's just trace how this all connects. A company cuts its emissions and earns some credits. Those credits have an expiry date. They can save them for a little while or sell them at a central auction. Now, that auction, which is run by the regulator, acts like a tap. It can release more credits if prices get too high or hold them back if prices get too low. It's this elegant, self-balancing system designed to keep the price of carbon stable and meaningful so that it actually drives real change.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Because getting this intricate design right, it's not just a big deal for India. This has ripple effects for the entire planet. The crucial thing to understand here is that India has the benefit of hindsight. They get to learn from everyone else's mistakes. Europe, for example, waited almost 10 years before it finally added stability rules to its struggling market. India is building those same protections in from day one, creating a much more resilient system from the get-go.
And that's why this matters so much to everyone. If India pulls this off, they're not just securing their own energy future. They will be writing the first truly successful playbook for how a massive, developing country can grow its economy like crazy while also hitting ambitious climate goals. It could become the blueprint for dozens of other nations. So that leaves us with one final, pretty mind-blowing thought. By learning from the mistakes of the past and building a smarter, more sophisticated system from the ground up, could we be watching India create the world's most advanced and effective climate policy tool right in the place where it's needed the very most? That, right there, is the billion-person question.